Welcome to another episode of Talking Nerdy in the Bedroom with KJ.
And Mike.
No Corey. Fuck
No
that
Corey.
guy. He is in Connecticut, I think, at a casino.
Spending all his monies.
Yeah, you know, you got to do what you got to do to enjoy your life. You might as well spend money and give it to a casino because they're the poor people in this situation.
It's true.
Yep. So Mike and I are back in the studio. We're going to be talking about The Witcher, and this actually works out because Corey hasn't finished it yet because Corey's a terrible person. But Mike and I have finished it, so we're going to be talking about all things Witcher. Earlier, before we started recording, we realized that we had not talked about The Witcher yet. I think it was always the plan to talk about it when the new season came out, but their seasons are, like, I think the last season was like a year and a half ago when it came out. So
I still feel like we talked about like season one.
Definitely. The season one came out in like 2020, 2019.
We
weren't doing the
South
podcast.
Park.
I know, but we weren't doing the podcast at that time.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like we did like a thing on it because it was.
No, I went through every episode that we did because I thought the same thing. Because I was gonna call this episode The Witcher Season 3, and I was like, wait, we haven't talked about The Witcher. I think we've talked about being excited for it. We've talked about Henry Cavill leaving, but I don't think we dove too deep in anything. Like when we did an episode on Nerdy News, the two of us, I think we talked about it then because that's when it was announced last year that he was gonna not be resuming his role for season 4.
The season one bugged the crap out of me.
Well, we'll get to the TV show in a second. Did you know about this franchise before the TV show?
Yeah, it was a video game.
There's more than that. Before the video game.
No.
Okay, there were books. There were books back in the 80s that eventually got translated to English. I want to say in the early 2000s. Is that what it was? Now I have to check to make sure that I'm not misspeaking. 2007 is when it got published in English. But the books first came out in 1986.
In what language?
Oh, that's a good question.
Nordic.
Oh,
Swedish.
God. Yeah, it's probably somewhere in that range. Polish. So Poland.
Oh, really?
You never know. People might not know.
No, people from the North Pole.
Yeah.
Polish.
But there are actually between all the stories, there are 9 different ones. Some of them are short stories. Some of them are literally the Witcher saga, and then there's a standalone novel afterwards as well. But yeah, there are quite a few out there, and that's how it started, which is funny because I was talking to a buddy of mine
who has the rights to Witcher.
What do you mean, like for a studio or for?
Yeah, like so if it came out as a book, don't they own like the intellectual property?
Yeah,
rights?
I'm sure somebody bought it. Like the people that did the game bought the intellectual property off of them, and this was before it was
Netflix...
like a huge thing. Like the video game is what made The Witcher even more big and more in pop culture.
Right.
And then from there, Netflix was like, "Hey, this is a good story. We should do a TV show of it," and that's what they did for this now. And now they have kind of control over it, which isn't necessarily a great thing. But yeah, so I was talking to a buddy of mine who we were talking about The Witcher, and he's like, "Yeah, I love the books." I was like, there are books? And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, I played the video game." He's like, "There's a video game?" So like both of us had no idea about this other media of The Witcher, which was very interesting to know that they have all these things out there, and just because you know of a video game or you know of the books or you know of the TV show doesn't mean you know about all the other things that are there.
Yeah, I feel like they haven't made a video game for The Witcher in a long time, though.
It's been a while. The Witcher 3 was the last big one, which was years ago at this point. I don't even think it's definitely...
Not a next-gen console.
No, back for PS4. Might have even been PS3.
I was going to say...
Yeah, it was, I think, The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt, I think it was what the Game of the Year edition was called, which I tried to get into it so much is because everybody, like, it was Game of the Year, it won every award under the sun, everybody talks about how good that game was, and I just couldn't
do it, huh?
I couldn't get into it. I've tried it. I think it's on Game Pass, or it was, so
right.
I was trying to play like the newer version that's updated for the Xbox 360 or the Xbox, not 360, Xbox One or Xbox Now Series X. But yeah, I just couldn't get into it, and I really wanted to. And then when the TV show came out, I tried again and still wasn't able to get into it. I was like, yeah, I don't really care.
I feel like I've played one of the Witcher games, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a length between, like, or I should say gap in between each game because of how big it is.
Yeah.
And they put it's
Well,
similar
it's nothing
to
like Grand Theft Auto.
It's somewhere in that vein for the not for the amount of time in between, but how much effort they put into the game.
Say, Grand Theft
which
Auto
shines
5 came out like
so many years ago.
yeah,
like 12. I want to say.
I don't even know.
Yeah, it's somewhere in that range. Maybe within
It was
the last
that
10.
one was for
PS3
and Xbox One.
Yeah, or no, Xbox 360.
It was originally for PS4 and Xbox One.
So it was originally came out the exact same time that the PS3 and PS4 were making its rounds.
Grand Theft Auto 5?
Yes.
No, it came out for like the original Xbox One.
No.
The one that had the Kinect.
Let's see.
Xbox One came out a long time ago, man.
5.
2015, maybe?
13.
13.
Yeah. So PlayStation 3, Xbox One, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, and now it's for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. It's crazy. It's still selling.
So 10
too.
years ago.
They're still selling, man. It's literally 10 years ago as of 3 days from now.
Wow.
So probably when this episode airs.
That'll be the
That'll be
10-year
Sunday.
anniversary.
Yeah, 10-year anniversary of Grand Theft Auto
5.
Yeah, that's what we
No
really
6
should have done
yet.
the episode on. 6 is being talked about forever. There's also talk about it being like a $200-something game because of how much they're going to be putting into it.
$200 game. People,
But there's just a lot of rumors and everything, and
people buy it. I've noticed that a lot of the quote unquote deluxe editions are out for all the games now. They're all $99.99.
Yep.
It's only going to be a matter of time till every game that you want to buy is $100.
Did you know that back in the day for Super Nintendo, games were $70, $80?
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I went and looked it up because people were talking about it, and I found all these old ads that, like, so back when I used to have my mom and grandparents
That
buy
would
me,
be
like,
a lot of
Donkey
money
Kong
these days.
and things like, yeah, it's like $80, $70, $80 games.
Well, you think about it would cost you $5 to fill your tank of gas.
Yeah, so really, so you're making money, is what you're saying. I can drive to the store, buy the game, and come back for the same price now. Because gas is so much more and games are a little bit cheaper.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But I also say the deluxe editions really
when I
don't
was a
come
kid,
with
like
too much.
games for like my N64 and like Game Boy were cheap.
Yeah, so
like 20. I remember Pokemon Yellow, $29.99.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, all the game
$39.99.
Yeah, $29.99.
Well, to be fair, it's a Game Boy, so it should be cheaper
Why?
because it's less storage, less game.
Look up a Nintendo DS game. Those are like $59. The same price as like a
Yeah, but a Game Boy is completely different in the day. Like people looked at it differently. Like when you had a console at your house that
right,
is
but you
supposed
just
to be able to support more
from the same
data.
breath you just said that games for a Super Nintendo were $80.
Yeah, they were.
But those are considerably less intense than a Game Boy.
Right. What?
They're more expensive, but have less of a game.
No. What? No.
Donkey
I'm so
Kong
confused.
for N60 for
PlayStation. Jesus
for
Christ.
Nintendo
For Super Nintendo, like
is
Donkey Kong Country,
yeah,
Donkey
that's
Kong
like an
Country
8-bit
2.
game.
That's more than what's in the Game Boy.
No,
Yes.
those games are big.
No.
Like Super Mario 2 for Game Boy. That's got like 30 levels.
It's on the Nintendo as well, with
Right.
better graphics.
It's the same graphics.
It's
but
better
got better graphics on a Game Boy than on a 80s console.
Well, I'm not talking about an 80s console. I'm talking about a
Pokemon.
90s
This is
console.
all kinds of shit. You have a whole
Pokemon
world.
wasn't in the 80s.
That's what I'm saying. It's $29.99.
I didn't say that it wasn't.
But it's a bigger game for less money.
It's not a bigger game compared to Mario. Mario is a bigger game than Pokemon.
I don't remember how much N64 games were, but I feel like they were fairly
40,
cheap
50,
too.
60, somewhere in that range.
I don't think there were 60.
I think there was probably some that were 60.
I want to say they were like $40. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I felt like for the longest time games were 50.
Yeah, $49.99. That was
Yeah.
like the threshold of buying a game.
Yeah, and if something went over
then
that, everybody was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, and then now it's all $59.99. $60 is what you expect.
Oh no,
to pay
now
for a
it's
game.
$69.99 for any of the new for any high end game. That's what mostly they're charging for the new systems. It's $69.99
for like a deluxe edition.
Nope.
I just paid for that for Harry Potter, $59.99.
Yeah, it's certain games. I don't understand it. Some are $59.99, which is like the old way of pricing, and then there are other ones that are $69.99. That's the new way.
Yeah,
of
but that's
pricing
usually
video
the
games.
deluxe edition. It's always $10 more for the
No,
deluxe
there was
edition.
a $69.99, $79.99, and $89.99. $69.99 is the minimum for
Bet.
some of the games. Yeah, I mean, I'll show it to you after the podcast.
See it.
I will show you after the podcast. We need to be talking about The Witcher
I was
currently.
gonna say this is Witcher.
Yeah.
Well, Witcher's a game.
Witcher is a game.
So let's get back
It's
to
true.
it. How much do you think The Witcher was when it came out?
$60.
Is that what it is?
I have no idea. I can find out real
Let's do
quick.
it.
I mean, it might still be $60 just because everybody's still playing it. Witcher 3
You have to go out and buy it now. It's
release
$60.
price.
Well, that's Witcher 3. What's The Witcher? What did that come out on?
Oh, I don't know. So right now, that game that's been out for a very long time is still $40.
Like if you bought it brand new?
Yeah.
Can you buy it new?
Well, like download.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd have to go to some other place.
Why the fuck would you want to pay $40 to download Witcher 3?
I don't know. I don't know if it has listed the price of what this was at the time. I just see what it is currently. But anyway, let's talk about the Witcher TV show, though.
Word.
So because you knew it was a video game, but it doesn't sound like you really played the video game, were you excited about the TV show, or did Henry Cavill make you excited for the TV show? Did he get you all like hot and bothered, or did you just like the idea of like this type of sci-fi fantasy TV show?
Yeah, the fantasy. I didn't really care if it was Henry Cavill or not. I liked him as the actor. I mean, like he did a fairly good portrayal, I would say, of the character he's supposed to be, but I don't know if I'm one of those people that like are going to boycott the show because he's not going to be on the next season. Although it is kind of weird. I feel like they left it open that like he should still be the main character. They didn't really kill him off.
Yeah, they didn't at all. I didn't think that they had to kill him off, but I figured something would have been done to make it show
To
that
end his character.
I don't think it's about ending his character. I thought they were going to do something because it's still supposed to be Geralt. Like, it's not supposed to be a different Geralt. It's still supposed to be the exact same character in the exact same story. So I thought they were going to do something like his face gets disfigured and then he looks like the new one, or a spell goes wrong and it changes his appearance a bit. But they might not even acknowledge it at all. They might just instantly go, yep, it's him. Don't worry about it.
When they did that for Marvel.
Well, they do that for a
Rhodey.
lot of with oh god, now I can't remember his
Don
name.
Quixote.
Don Cheadle, yeah.
Cheadle.
And then
Don Quixote.
but they do it with like a lot of TV shows where they recast somebody, but it's usually not a main character without it kind of being explained. Like they've done it in some other shows. There's one that probably Corey would talk about if he was here.
So I thought
where
they
the
were just
main
going to make
actor
like
died.
a new Witcher.
Nope.
Like, it'd be a different character.
Nope, it's still just supposed to be the Witcher Geralt, and it's just now going to be played by Hemsworth. The other Hemsworth, Liam. Yep. So
What else
that'll
does he
be
play
that'll
in?
be interesting. I mean, he's the one that dated Miley Cyrus, right?
Sure.
Pretty sure that's him. He's been in some stuff, but nothing ever huge. Like nothing that you would be like, "Hey, him. Yeah, I like him." It's not that he's bad, he's just not like his brother.
Liam Hemsworth. So that's going to be Geralt?
Yeah. They already had some like mock-ups of him if he was Geralt to begin with, I don't think anybody would necessarily would have cared.
Oh, the look. Okay, I see that.
Yeah. Like, I just think that if Henry was
he
never...
doesn't even have white hair.
Well, neither does Henry.
Yes, he does.
Not in real life.
No, like, in this mock-up they have, he just has blonde hair, but it's not, like, white.
Oh, I'm sure they'll fix it in post, and I don't even know if they've started filming anything, because obviously with the writer's strike and everything, I don't know what they're doing.
He's in the Hunger Games?
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's the love interest of Katniss that isn't PETA.
Oh, yeah, that's him.
Yep, that is him.
The
I forgot that he
Last
was in
Song. He's in all the Hunger Games.
that.
He's in Independence Day, Resurgence.
The new one, yeah, that was awful. Don't watch it if you haven't. It's terrible.
Yeah, I like Independence Day.
Ugh. The first one, sure. First one's great.
Yeah, he's like some space pilot.
Yeah, but that's in the second one. It's terrible.
Yep. That's it.
So for the Witcher series, you mentioned it earlier, so let's get into it now. What annoyed you about season 1?
It's like all over the place.
To be fair, that's the way the book is too.
That's what I've heard. I heard it follows the storyline that it's supposed to be like to the T.
Yep.
But
it was very jarring to watch.
It's so hard to like. You don't realize that you're not in chronological order until like, I don't know, episode 5.
Yeah.
And things start to be like, oh, okay, well, maybe all these things aren't happening at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. Which is very annoying. Because you're also looking at it like, anytime something was out of place, I was wondering if there was a continuity error. Yeah. Like if Netflix screwed up and then you're like, oh, it's actually, this hasn't happened yet, or this has happened, or we don't know about this yet. And the fact that Netflix themselves had to put out a graphic that literally had like it all
each
mapped
episode,
out. Yeah.
In chronological order.
And there was somebody that went on YouTube and put it all in chronological order too, so that you could watch it like that. I doubt
as clips, because each scene, like the scenes in each episode are not in chronological order.
Yeah, so somebody literally spliced everything.
That's what
together.
I'm saying. Like, wow, that's some
dedication. Yeah. They probably wanted to do it for themselves too. Like, I just want to watch this how it's fucking supposed to be.
Right.
And then they thankfully did away with that in season 2.
Yeah.
But I loved season 1.
Well, they got a lot of flack for that too.
They did because it confused a lot of people.
Right.
Now, I'll say anytime you have a show that has different timelines, like Lost got a lot of flack for that too. I don't know if you ever watched Lost, but it does a lot of flashbacks, and people got very confused by flashbacks, and then by the later seasons they started doing flash forwards, so you're seeing the future. So there was a lot of things that like can confuse a normal audience member if it isn't linear, and they took a chance doing that, and it was still successful, thankfully for them, because it's Netflix. Because that could have just literally bombed the whole thing.
Yeah, especially it being like your pilot season.
Yeah. And then I was super happy they didn't continue it for season 2 so that we could get a linear story. But season 1, I think it's still, like, if you put it in chronological order, it's better than season 2. Yeah. And season 2 is fine, but season 1 has everything you kind of want with it. You get to see the Witcher, you get to see who he is and that he's an outcast. You get to see him fight all those monsters, which I really like. It's one of my favorite things about the show is fighting the monsters. Well, you get the Mage Guild later.
Season 1.
Oh, it is season 1. You're right. Yeah, because everything was Yennefer?
Yeah.
Yennefer with the Y. That's right.
Absolute smoke show.
Yeah, goes from being disgusting to a smoke show. Has to give up
she's
being
a
able to have a kid.
I'd take her as a hunchback.
Oh, you lying piece of shit.
Yeah. Just gotta polish that turd, apparently.
But yeah, I thought her character was fine in the show. Like, at first, I didn't really care too much about her because I just really wanted to see more about The Witcher. But then when they started developing her character more and showing how many, like, the power she had, and then showing her own struggles with dealing with as much power she had and controlling it, like, I was on board with her character. And then I feel like everybody was singing that goddamn song from the first season, the Toss a Coin to Your Witcher.
Toss a coin to the Witcher.
Yeah, the bard in that show is very good. More so in the first season.
I did not like him in season 3.
So I agree, and both in like season 2, he was less good than he was in season 1, and then season 3 he's less good than both.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved him in season 1. I thought he was a great counterpart to Geralt.
Yeah.
And had better music,
Comic relief.
Yeah,
And like season 3 is more serious. Like he has like a song, but it's not like memorable.
no, it's not catchy at all. It doesn't like I wouldn't be able to tell you what it's called. I could tell you when he sings it just because I remember the season, but I couldn't tell you anything else about it. And then so season 2 is all about him and I've forgotten her name. What, Ciri, right? Right, Ciri. Yeah, the girl that he basically rescues in the first season, and then starts training her in the second season with his group. I forget what they're called.
The Witchers.
Is it just the Witcher? I thought there was a name. Is there not a name? Am I just making shit up?
They're all just Witchers.
Okay.
The Guild of Witchers.
The Guild of Witchers. And I like that. I liked all of their interactions with each other. It sucks that they all got fucking killed at the end. And basically everybody's
all of
dead.
them?
I feel like
the old one of them is still alive.
I thought the old guy died at the very end.
Well, one of them did.
Well, the main one for Geralt died. Like the one that he was the closest to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I feel like some of them are still there.
Maybe. I haven't seen season 2 in a while. I should have rewatched season 2 before season 3, but I just wanted to get through season 3 and see what's going to happen and what story they were going to tell. I will say season 3 is probably my least favorite of the seasons, but it's not a bad season.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so if you have a 10, then a 9, and then it's like an 8 type of thing. Not saying the first season is a 10 or the second season is a 9, but that's basically what it feels like. It's like one step behind, but it's not bad at all.
Right.
What did you think about the characters that they grew from the first season to the third that you're still seeing? Like the Magic Guild, all those characters.
So I feel like the world is very expansive, so it's hard to really delve into everything all at the same time. But I mean, you learn about the elves. The more the story goes, the more you learn about like the whole continent as a whole. Like you didn't really even know that I don't know, the Ciri's father ends up being from, I think it's Nilfheim or something like that. You'd never even hear about that. I don't believe during
well, in
like
season
the first
1,
season.
I think your thought is that he's dead. Because
Right.
you're thinking that he's dead. And then in season 2, you know somebody's
Nilfgaard,
after.
that's what it is.
Yeah, Nilfgaard. You know season 2, somebody's after her. And then they kind of reveal in season 3, which wasn't a big reveal in my opinion, that it's her dad.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't really come across as like a big shock. And I haven't read the stories, so I don't know. It just seemed like that's what it was supposed to be. Like, if you're just following a normal story.
I don't understand why he got that girl to be Ciri.
Oh, when they were trying to do experiments and change these girls into Ciri?
Yeah.
I
Using
think it
magic?
was so... I don't think it's... They wouldn't have Ciri's powers, but they would be able to bring the kingdoms and unite them so that they could rule over everything. Because there's a prophecy about her that everybody has heard, and then it's his daughter obviously coming back into the fold. So I think the idea was to basically make her Ciri just for appearance sake. Like,
Why wouldn't you just find the real one?
what they were trying. This was like a backup solution. Is
And
what
they
it
just,
seemed
they're
to
like,
be.
well, it's taking too long. We just have this.
Kinda.
We'll just create a Ciri.
Well, that's what they ended up doing towards the end of it, is that they actually brought out that new Ciri.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That part never made sense.
I think it was a way to show that if they say they're going to do something, they're able to do it. So it keeps the faith with the people that they're.
And how did
are their
she
subjects.
get away? Like, wasn't she being like cared for by?
Yeah, but they probably got kidnapped or taken. Or she might have wanted to head that way, because in her mind's still all fucked up. She thinks she is.
I know. I thought
Ciri.
she was being like healed though.
I know
like,
that
she tells Geralt who she actually is.
Yeah, and then Geralt ends up leaving her with somebody else to take care
with
of
the
her.
druids that were supposed to heal her.
Yeah,
and then you just see her at the end.
Yep.
She's Ciri again.
Yeah.
Didn't take.
No, it didn't take, and they probably those people probably took
She needs
her
to go back to AA.
or
She fell off the wagon.
or CA, Syria Anonymous.
Maybe.
No? All right.
She fell off the wagon.
So I don't know how I felt so much about the third season with all the politics stuff. Like, with everything going on. Like, I like the culmination of it.
I feel like they went Game of Thronesy.
Yeah, but without me caring. Like, in Game of Thrones, I cared about all the politics stuff.
Game of Thrones is much grittier, so it makes the politics seem more real.
It's also,
which is an embarrassment to our political system.
Fair. But it's also the characters. Like, I probably, during Game of Thrones' heyday, could have named every single character. Like, I cared about all of them because of the story they were
flesh
given.
them out.
Yeah, and they don't really do that with this. Like, you get some of it, but it's not enough. And maybe it's because we're only in 3 seasons, and obviously Game of Thrones was
So I think
7,
the
8.
problem that they do is that they don't tell you which characters, tell you without telling you which characters are like quote unquote main characters. Like in Game of Thrones, like you're thrust into the characters and you follow them.
Yeah.
And like you can kind of be like, oh, he's a main character. That's a story arc. That's a story arc. Whereas like in Game of Thrones, there's like the elves that are fighting against the humans, but like it's not really a story arc that
You mean in The Witcher.
That's what in The Witcher.
Yeah.
That you care about.
Yeah, and like, so I feel like I should care about the queen of the elves, and yet I don't.
Right.
She was trying to unite everybody behind Ciri, but then they were trying to kill Ciri. And then the whole subplot of his guards trying to do something and then bringing him back into the fold, and then this new king's gets killed, and then it's probably going to be his brother that takes over for him. Like, all that stuff I didn't care about at all. And it just felt like filler for the stuff I cared about. And that's my thing. With Game of Thrones, I cared about not every single story, but most of all the stories throughout that show I cared about. And in The Witcher, I mostly just care about Geralt, Ciri, and Yennefer.
Right. Well, I feel like that's kind of how they're trying to be, though, too.
Yeah, but how can you try to be that where you spend 20 or 30 minutes of an episode on other people?
Well, it's just like filler for like the background, so
that's
you
bad.
know what's going on. Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it would be weird if he's like, oh, I got to go meet the elves to do this thing, and you're like, oh, who are the elves? What the fuck's going on with them? And they're like, oh, we've been fighting this battle over here, and you don't know anything about it. I feel like it's got a little bit of filler, but I don't think they're characters that you're made to give a shit about.
I feel like anytime they focus on somebody for
it's literally called The Witcher. Like Game of Thrones is Thrones. Like you have all the different places.
Yeah, but it's basically the main characters in Game of Thrones starts out obviously with the Starks and the Baratheon.
Right.
And then they introduce you new characters that you care about. Littlefinger,
but they're all part of the game. They're the pawns.
I don't think
bishops.
Littlefinger would call himself a pawn, but
the rooks.
But either way, it like you because of the fleshed out and because of the writing, I just was more invested in those characters. And this one doesn't have me that invested. Now it's a fine show. The graphics and the VFX effects are pretty good. And I still love every time that Geralt gets to fight a monster. Like when they were fighting the one on the ship, when they were fighting
in season 3,
yeah.
Cersei, the one that she fought.
Yeah, on the ship. Well, they both fought the one on the ship. And then when he let her go fight something else, I don't remember the name of the creature. I just wish the show was more of that, like monster hunting. I understand they have to do this other story, but in the first season, when literally he was going town to town collecting money as a Witcher to defeat these things, I loved it.
Well, that's what The Witcher is.
I know, that's what I want.
Yeah.
You're giving me all this other stuff, which I understand why, because you have to have a story, but fuck, give me a show where it's just that going on. And you get to see all these cool battles, you get to see all these creatures he beats, and if you tie a story in there too, great. But I feel like having this overarching story has taken away from that fun part of it. And they just sprinkle it in a little bit to kind of appease you.
I don't know. In season 2, he like fights like harpies or something.
I know, I like that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So
it's just short-lived.
There's monsters in it.
There's been monsters in every season. It's just, it felt more...
You just want monsters every episode.
Or at least every other.
You're just going to get overwhelmed with monsters.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you need those monsters, man.
I was kind of hoping that when like the obelisk things cracked and there was like the route like in between the realms, from there it would just be lots of monsters.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Like the worlds, the spheres collided or whatever.
Just reminding me, I fucking hated the episode where it was just Ciri in the desert. Fucking
she's wandering it around.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was so fucking bored.
Yeah, it was pretty dumb.
She did end up fighting the fucking scorpion at one point, but yeah, I fucking hated that.
Fighting the scorpion?
Yeah, the sand scorpion thing. So I think it's the first episode back after the half split season, because she's like in a portal thing. And then she has
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, so then she's there, like literally the entire episode, she's in the desert.
I know she's in the desert, but she fights like the people in the bar.
Yeah, but that's after. Like the episode before that.
Oh.
She's like in the desert the whole time, like basically having a mental battle with herself. Because she's talking to a person who's not actually there. And then ends up the unicorn. Do you remember the unicorn?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the unicorn dies in that episode too, but the unicorn like saves her. There's this monster in the ground. It looks like she's gonna drink from a puddle, but it's not the puddle. It's like that thing's mouth, and she jumps out of the way at the last second.
I don't remember that part at all.
But anyway, besides for the part,
some popcorn.
Besides for the part with that monster,
so clearly that episode was so unrememberable
that you don't got nothing.
I just spaced out on.
Yeah, the only cool part about that episode was that I understand what they were trying to do.
Just not expecting it to happen.
You were just like, she's in the desert. I'll go to the bathroom.
Sucks. I'm gonna make popcorn.
But I was expecting, I don't know, more from it, and I understand what they were trying to do to get her to
evolve.
Yeah, but I don't think it did what they wanted
to
do,
that
because
badass
then she ended up
female character development.
They ended up getting captured anyway, so she didn't save herself. She didn't do anything. I will say the scene in the bar with those people at the end was cool as shit. Where she's handcuffed and they all come in and they start fighting, and then she ends up killing that last dude. Was great.
Yeah.
Like, I very much enjoyed that part of it. And I'm very excited to see
How long are they, like, on, quote-unquote, the run? Like, how long is she training for?
I don't know how long.
Couple years?
I don't think it was that long. I think
no
she's
way
just
you
naturally
get that good,
gifted.
There's no way you get that good
I'm
fighting.
thinking
I mean,
that's the
she's
whole
got, like,
idea.
magic. She has a little bit of magic.
I have to assume they're, like, is this going to be a Rey thing from Star Wars, where she's just naturally good at everything?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't list exactly, like, how long she was training for, just that she was training. Like, it doesn't give you, or at least I haven't seen a timeline. I'd have to go look for it, and that takes effort. I'm not willing to put
time between episode 1 and 3. So we want to know.
That's too much. All right. So, yay, touchdown. Yay, fantasy football. So obviously there's no Henry Cavill for season 4. Everybody's aware of that. Is that going to impact your decision at watching? I think you already said no, right? You're still going to watch it.
Yeah.
Are you interested to see where the story goes now?
I mean, yes and no. Like the Witcher is weird. I like the show, but I don't feel invested in the overall story arc. I just like watching the show, which is weird. I don't know how to explain that.
I'm in the same boat.
Okay.
Like, I care about or I should say I like the show, but I don't care about the show.
Right.
Like, if it ended tomorrow, I would not be heartbroken.
Right.
But if
another season comes
I'd be like,
out,
cool, let's watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a solid 7.5, 8 show.
It's a solid 6.5 to 7 show.
Yeah, it's good to watch.
Yeah. And it's something that keeps my interest too, for the most
But
part.
I just couldn't give a shit about it.
Yeah. But it's not one of those shows that I would just like scroll my phone while I'm watching it, because I literally don't care. I actually care about what's happening, but
Right.
just not enough to either remember or like make a difference in what's going on.
Which is weird because I feel...
Like, this show is for us.
Yeah.
Like, we should be all about
I
this.
feel like this is like right in my genre wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, I really, really, really thought I was going to like The Wheel of Time, and it was okay. There's another season that came out, apparently. Didn't
You just
even
don't
know.
care?
I didn't even know. I haven't seen it yet. Supposedly it's supposed to be better than the first season, but I don't know if that's a huge torch to pass.
Yeah. All right, so let's wrap up this one for Witcher wise. We kind of talked about that we're gonna watch it regardless next season. Is there anything that you hope happens next season that you haven't gotten so far out of The Witcher, or haven't gotten since like the first or the second season, that you're hoping happens in the fourth?
Way more monsters.
Yeah, I'm in that boat too. I want more monsters, but I don't know if they're gonna pull that trigger. It feels like they're like just slowly giving us a little and a little and a little to just keep us on that ride.
See, I was kind of hoping like one of the factions would like abuse the fact that you can break between worlds.
Yep.
And like use monsters like old school Power Rangers. Like Rita's just out there fucking summoning monsters.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good.
And then it's just slaying, and they're big things, and like it takes up the whole episode.
Yeah. I was also so at the midpoint of this season, that's when Geralt gets his ass kicked and like nearly dies, and then comes back like, I don't know, weeks, months later, and it doesn't feel like that much time has passed, but it's supposed to be a shit ton of time has passed.
Yeah.
Which I always felt was like a bit weird. And I also thought that's probably was going to be when they made the switch, something like that. Like he could be recovering and then them trying to heal him, and then... But yeah, I literally think it's going to be Geralt 1 second.
Straight 1 for 1.
Yeah, 1 for 1.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're gonna do. They're not even gonna acknowledge it. They're not gonna do anything. They're just boom.
I don't love that.
I feel like after a couple episodes we won't even notice, like in the sense of that they haven't brought it up.
They probably have the screen written for like 5 seasons, and they're just trying to like push out the other 2.
Possibly.
They're like, oh, who could we have play Geralt? Well, we got this like B-list guy. He did some like Hunger Games shit, so he's available.
Yeah, he is. I was hoping it was going to be... It also pisses me off why Henry left.
Yeah, so, okay, I didn't...
So they were going away from the books and the lore in the TV show, and he wanted them to be more about the books. And then there are reports that the heads of Netflix didn't want any of their writers reading any of the books, which I kind of understand in the sense like you're trying to tell an original story without doing it word for word. But part of this is fucking people have read the books or played the games and wanting to see that in live action.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you just fucking do it verbatim? So he had some creative differences with them, and that's one of the reasons he left. Plus, he was supposed to be Superman again, but that didn't fucking happen. We got him in one little cameo in Black Adam, and that was it.
Yeah.
And now we have the new DCU eventually.
He's not going to be in the DCU?
Nope, he is completely out. So I don't know what his next thing is. Maybe he can go over to Marvel and do something. They'll probably use him better.
Yeah, I don't know who he would be. But...
I don't know, but he was a great Superman.
Yeah.
I loved him as Superman.
Yeah, Man of Steel was great.
Man of Steel was fantastic minus the ending. He shouldn't have killed Zod. You can't kill Zod in your first movie.
I guess.
Yeah. That's what the Phantom Zone's for. You put him in the Phantom Zone, and then he gets out, and you've had other battles with other people, and then you've literally now in your life realized, if I do not kill him, he's going to murder everyone. Like, that can't be your first go-to. It just can't.
It's true.
Yeah. But anyway, all right, so final thoughts, Witcher.
Decent.
Not even good. We went to decent, huh?
It's a good show. So it has to be... It's weird. It has to be well written and well acted to keep my attention for that. I want to say for that long, but like to make me want to watch it.
Yep.
But there is that like lackluster of like the overall story arc that I don't know if I absolutely give a shit about. So it's a decent show. It's better than okay. It's not great. Like, if I didn't watch it, I'd be fine. If I did watch it, I'm glad I did.
Yeah, it's something that if someone likes sci-fi, I would tell them, watch this show.
Fantasy, not sci-fi.
Sci-fi, yeah, that's what I meant. I meant fantasy. I mean, to be fair, this show is also science
like,
fiction.
it's not Guardians style, like
No.
Guardians sci-fi. Like, Guardians 3 was the best cinematic thing I've seen this year.
Oh, this year by far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like since No Way, like to me, it's up with No Way Home.
Yeah.
But this is a better story than No Way Home.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Guardians
that's a story that you give a shit about.
Oh, it's so well done. James Gunn.
Like, you feel for those characters.
Damn right you do. Especially Rocket.
The little tiny little fluff ball.
Yeah.
Reckons.
Yeah.
Rakins.
But yeah, so I would recommend it to those people. If anybody has read the books or watched or played the games, I'd recommend it to them. But it's nothing that I would like. It's not in my all-time faves.
They ain't getting an Emmy.
No, definitely not getting an Emmy. Except for maybe some of their graphic stuff. They might get some stuff for that. Their CGI, maybe.
They didn't make
or
a
their
good
costumes.
They didn't make enough monsters.
I agree. But the monsters they did have were pretty cool. It's just there wasn't many
I feel
of them.
like the Swamp Witch thing was my favorite. In like season 1.
I think where he's in like the castle? Or in the very beginning where they're in the swamp.
Yeah, like that swamp. Yeah,
yeah, that's in the very beginning.
Yeah, I feel like that's my favorite one.
See, I like the one because at that one I don't think you see him drink the potion. But when he's in like the creepy castle in season 1, where he literally goes to fight something, I'm trying to remember what it is. I don't know if it's like a werewolf type thing. And he drinks the potion. Like that one was my favorite because you actually got what I wanted from the show of. You get paid to do this job, and now you're going there to do it, and then you drink your potion because you know shit's about to go down.
Right, you're powering up.
Right, and you're stalking this thing while this thing is stalking you.
Yeah.
It was really well done. I like that. And it was a fight, too. He wasn't just immediately killing
I just remembered the story arc of him being in the castle with his buddy. And then that thing like goes through the walls that ends up being like the guy's like wife or something. When him and Siri first escape, they go into like that like winter castle.
Yeah.
I think it's in season 2.
Yeah, that's season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember that was kind of cool.
Yeah, like I said, but that's the thing.
But
like it's not standing the test of time like other things. Like if I said the Red Wedding to you, although I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones. Yeah. Red Wedding. You're going to know what I'm talking about.
Well, true. That's just so brutal, though.
It's so fucking good and
that's
unexpected.
just how you get to your enemies.
Oh, it's so good. But all right, so that's where we're going to wrap it up for The Witcher. We'll see what happens with season 4, which probably isn't going to come out for quite a while.
No.
Yeah, with the strikes and everything going on, like it'll be a while.
2025.
Yeah, that would be my guess at the earliest.
Yep.
And yeah, speaking of that, like Stranger Things, by the time that show comes out, all those kids are going to be adults.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what the fuck they're going to do with that.
They're just going to come from the upside down.
I guess, or something. Or they're going to recast them as like younger versions of themselves, or try to get Disney's the de-aging thing. So instead of looking like they're 20, they can go back to looking like they're 15.
AI will just do the whole show.
That's probably true. That's what the studios want. All right, that's where we'll end it.